Hi everyone, welcome back here. It is lukemick, and today we are doing yet another Criterion Marathon. Today, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, there are only going to be two films featured because one of them is 4 hours long, and it's already like 5 p.m., and I still haven't started it yet. So I do not have time to watch 3 movies today, but I am very much looking forward to the ones that we are going to watch. So please, if you are able, join us in this Criterion Marathon, this special, socially distanced edition of Criterion Marathon.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so we just watched A Brighter Summer Day. That was well, for both of us, it was the first time seeing it. It's the first Edward Yang film I've seen, and for you too, right, Tyler?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, this is a film that I've personally wanted to watch for a long time, but obviously that 4-hour runtime is something that can really hold a person back from sitting down and doing it. And we haven't talked about the film yet at all. I'm hungry, My
Same.
stomach's grumbling.
Yep.
It's a long movie. I don't think I've ever watched a 4-hour long movie. And I haven't seen all of the extended cuts of, like, Lord of the Rings. But do any of those hit 4 hours? Maybe the last one.
Maybe the last one.
The point is, this is probably the longest movie I've ever watched.
Yeah, and probably the longest film that isn't really considered like an epic, Where you'd say Lord of the Rings is part of that epic category.
I mean, it's an epic in that it is freaking whatever, I'll say fucking 4 hours long, but the span of time of the film, how long do you think this, like, the time frame of this movie is? Like
a couple months, a year maybe?
Yeah, because the characters don't age much, but like it seems like they go a long time without seeing each other.
Yeah,
people go through changes.
Yeah, you really don't know, but yeah, probably like 6 months to a year, if I had to guess.
It's not like an epic where it's like a giant adventure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. I mean, it's still grand in scope and characters, but it still feels very personal.
Yeah.
At the same time.
But let's talk about the characters. So the main character, I can't remember his name. I liked his little friend character, and just something that I'd like to note, there will be spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen this movie, you should really watch it before you watch this. So I liked his young friend character a lot.
Yeah, the short one.
He was funny,
right?
the short kid who
would
sing. He was kind of like the comic relief whenever it was needed. Fun
and he wasn't like too serious like the rest of the characters. Like, he knew how to, exactly, comic relief. He knew how to have fun.
And he could diffuse situations, too.
For sure.
He was really good at that. And I'm a short person, so I appreciated that. No, I'm just kidding. Is there anything that is in your mind right now that you want to mention about the movie? That you feel like
Are we just talking broad or characters specifically?
See, now at this point I'm like, well, fuck. There's just whatever.
There is a lot in this movie. I like certain aspects. There was a good hour where part of me was starting to lose it. Between hour like 2 and 3, I was a little like, where is this kind of going, sort of thing.
There's a pivotal moment towards the end of the first half of the film. Basically, it's when Honey gets pushed in front of a car and is killed, and I looked over at Tyler to get a reaction, because that's the first big moment of the film, really, and his eyes were shut.
Their nests, so they've never experienced water before.
And I was like, dude, you missed a really important thing.
A good 20 minutes, I was starting to doze a little bit.
I guess just due to time, this isn't going to be like a 30-minute discussion. I'll just say that I liked this movie, but I was expecting to feel more devastated by the finale, because I knew that this film was going to be something where you're to get very invested in, being 4 hours, and that, like, by the end of it, everything is just going to hit you all at once, and it's going to be very impactful. And I'll say that the end credits were really effective with the announcing of the names. Obviously, the main character's name wasn't going to be on that list. But I don't know, like, what to make of it yet. I don't know if I got exactly what I was looking for from it, in all honesty.
The whole movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know the plot at all going into it. I guess there was an aspect of the movie, like something happened at the very beginning, the girl with the dude, you know, and I didn't know that was going to be such a major plot point, like, and it just seems so like minuscule, like at that very moment, and then you kind of realize that like, oh, this is a good like hour and a half to 2 hours of the movie is kind of like based off of that. It was surprising what they were focusing on,
but it was like hard to tell what the focus was.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so
yeah.
It was, and once it gets to the second half and towards the end of the movie and it comes up again, it's more like, oh, that is still
relevant.
A relevant leading theme of the movie and leading plot point.
And where I will give this movie credit is it does juggle a lot of different things going on, which makes it feel more realistic and human, because it's like a lot of people have a lot of problems, not just one problem. Yeah. You know, so it does manage to handle all these plot points, but I think it was a lot to really grasp on the first viewing. Yeah. I mean,
I know in the beginning we were trying to keep all the characters straight and all of the gang quarrels, and we're like, wait, is this person part of that gang or that gang? But by the end of it, everything is much more clear once you start to see people go back and reflect on certain
once the
events.
puzzle pieces start to get connected and interlined, you kind of get a better picture of what you're going to get, sort of thing. Yeah. That's what I would describe it as.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to describe the experience.
The experience, for sure.
Yeah. As far as the directing goes, it really isn't very showy. There are a couple of interesting tracking shots and some really good, like, frame within a frame. The scene where the mother and father discover that the watch has been taken by one of the brothers and sold. That part was really great. Yeah. You know, something else I want to talk about, though, is this based off of a true story? Because...
I mean, the way the credits made it seem was, yes.
We should look into that. Yeah. I'll look it up, you talk.
Okay, one thing that I really liked that the director... I'm guessing he made this choice was... It was near the end. He was talking to his friend about the girl. The rich one. He said, you know...
Oh, the friend.
Yeah.
Ma.
Okay.
M.A. Ma.
He was like, you know, if you go near her, blah, blah, blah. But then right when he started talking, the dog in the background started barking. You know? Started barking. Yeah. And it almost kind of made it seem like, you know, one of those, like, Reservoir Dog quotes where, like, you can bark all day sort of thing, but he doesn't have any bite. Because I don't think he was ever really involved with the violence, right?
No. He was rumored to have stabbed somebody at his previous school, and that's why he transferred, supposedly. But after watching all of it, I kind of get the idea that was just a rumor and he didn't actually do that. Especially when we find out he's, like, just some rich kid, too. Yeah. Like, it just sounds like a story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I like the dog barking over his dialogue.
I didn't even notice that, really.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I just don't think it was an accident. Especially with this movie, like, it doesn't seem like it would be a mistake. And I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I didn't even notice that. I'm glad you picked that up, though, because that makes that scene even more interesting than it already was, because I noticed that, like, you couldn't see our main character in that scene either. Just the way the shot was framed, you could only see Ma, who was getting his ass chewed out for hanging around with Ming. That's just another layer of the intricacy of the directing, I guess. Yeah. Just that scene.
Yeah, but otherwise, like the camera shots weren't really too... I mean, like you were saying, they weren't in your face with the shots, which is good. Yeah. You know, because... It definitely flowed really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, like... And I just looked this up and can confirm that it is based on a true story. Okay. And so it is telling a very, like, grounded story in reality. And, yeah, keeping that consistent, you know, steady filmmaking and camera work works for that, you know. Is there anything about this movie that you liked or didn't like that would be considered, like, controversial? Because I'm just wondering if we have any conflicting views, because we must have something, but there's just, it's so deep, there are so many elements. Something, I guess, now that I'm saying this, that I thought was a little weird is that once the massacre happens, there didn't seem to be consequences.
Yeah, like any repercussions. And it didn't seem like it was only really brought up one time, right?
After that? Once he went back to the last location that the massacre occurred. Because our main character is present in that scene. A woman who survives the massacre, who they didn't target, literally witnesses her boss or whatever dying in front of her, and the only other person in the room is our main character, who didn't kill anybody, but he's holding a knife, and I assume she saw that. He was the only living person in the room other than herself, and I would have thought that that would have created some kind of conflict with him, like some kind of legal situation. But he just sneaks home, and this is also at the time where his father is taken by the secret police.
Yeah, I think it's all, I mean, I don't know. We don't really know what they're involved with, it seemed like. Because, I mean, if that woman would have, like, you know, told somebody, like, would she have gotten in trouble in some way? Like, I just don't know how involved her character was, you know, in the underground sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's another thing that maybe I could criticize about this movie, is that you have these two gangs, and for a while it's hard to keep track of who is who in these gangs. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the only conflict is with themselves. They kind of swindle people. I guess like the whole pool bar scene, they're, I think, cheating the older brother and just like kind of extorting him, I guess, and maybe blackmailing him. Yeah. Maybe there are just other things that we're supposed to assume about the gangs that they don't mention in the movie, but maybe she didn't want to go to the cops about that because she could have faced some kind of charge after that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess like an overall thing that I had a hard time with this movie was really latching onto any character specifically. Even the main character, there wasn't like a lot. Cold. Yeah, there wasn't a lot about him to really like.
I would say that I sympathized most with like his father, because his father clearly wanted his whole family to thrive, but the situation that they're put in by having to move to Taiwan and leave their country puts them in a really like negative, like they don't want to be there. And so I just felt like his father trying to do the right thing for his family, trying to focus on his son and do the right thing for him, was a really touching side of the movie, and I really liked that part of it.
You know, I would say the dad was definitely the best, because like you kind of got to see change in him. Like he stopped smoking, you know. I mean that's kind of a big deal, and he wanted to do that for his son, you know, and I guess the rest of his family too, you know. So you could tell he definitely cared. You know, he was trying to make the best of the situation.
Yeah. And right after that, he beat the shit out of his other son.
Final thoughts on this film. I would say it was pretty decent. I wasn't blown away. On Letterboxd, it's number 11.
Yeah, it's very well received.
For me, like, I'm in the ballpark of like a 3.5 or a 4. Like, I liked it, but how often I'm going to go back to it is the biggest question.
I feel like it is a movie that I need to rewatch, and God knows when that'll be done. I think that maybe, and I've noticed this with a lot of other Criterion releases in particular, and some of the Arrow stuff I've been watching, but watching the supplemental special features for these films can really add a lot to the experience and the appreciation of the movie, so I'd like to check them out for this. And it's also kind of a relief to know this is a terrible thing that happens in this movie, and I shouldn't say a relief to know, but I'll just say it's a relief to like know that it's based on a true story, because I can take it and just say, you know what, this is telling a story. Yeah. Maybe accurately, maybe not accurately, I don't know. But I wouldn't say that I was bored with the movie. I always wanted to know what was going to happen next. It's just a lot to take in. And like you, I think, did a good job of pointing out, it's a little bit hard to feel attached to some of the characters. Yeah. Which is something I was really expecting. I thought that this was going to be a movie like Burning, for example. If you watch my channel, you know that I really like that film, and I was very attached to that. I didn't get that same sense of attachment to these characters as I did for a movie like Burning, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to, and I was expecting that. So I would say that I'm just a little tiny bit let down by this, but maybe after watching more Edward Yang, some of his shorter, more accessible films, I'll grow a different and just a more profound appreciation for this film. So just keep this in mind. We filmed this literally the second we turned the TV off.
Yeah, we didn't say a word to each other. Mm-hmm. We just hit the record button, or I should say he hit the record button. Yeah. And just started talking, so.
Well, so this is Criterion Marathon. Although it is late, for us, we do have to watch one more movie. We're going to pick that movie out right now because we have not talked about what we're going to watch next. We kind of wanted to use this movie as a gauge to like figure out how we'd feel after it. Yeah. So we're going to roll on to the next one, and we hope you join us. So we just finished the second and final film of this Criterion Marathon, Detour. Tyler pulled this off the shelf. We didn't have a plan as to what we were going to watch. It's just one of like the three we had it sorted down to. And
yeah, and I was with you when you bought it. So, and I was curious to see it too. The cover looked very interesting.
And what did we think of Detour? Well,
go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was pretty short.
It's brisk.
Yeah, I really didn't know the plot at all, again, with this one. So, going in, I didn't have a lot of expectations for what was going to happen. And you don't have to wait too long before you start getting answers to what, like, the story is going to be.
Yeah, the movie on Letterboxd just says 67 minutes. What does it say on here? 69. It's a short-ass movie.
Yeah.
So you get answers quick.
Yes.
Which is a lot different from A Brighter Summer Day.
Yeah, so in that regards, it was easier to, latch onto. A lot less characters than the last movie.
Yeah,
that's
there's
for sure.
like 1 or 2 characters.
Yeah.
3. It could be like a Twilight Zone episode almost.
Yeah, and I was going to even say the guy does look like a guy from, or the actor looks like he was from the Twilight Zone.
He could have been.
Yeah, and I was going to look it up, but I forgot to before this.
I think his name is Tom Neal. I looked it up right before we started filming, but I immediately forgot.
The first thing I want to say is the character at first, we kind of see that he's a little bit grumpy, a little bit grizzled. Like, we don't really know what his backstory is.
He's just a total a-hole.
Yeah.
Honestly. We were like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
What's up with him?
Mm-hmm. And once you really know the circumstances he goes through, you're kind of like...
Essentially, the whole movie is a flashback. Almost all of it. He tells a story. The main guy... I'm going to look his name up because I thought he was great.
He had a lot of good facial expressions and just a physicality about him.
Tom Neal. I think that's what I said earlier. Tom Neal is his name, and I haven't seen him in any other films, but maybe Twilight Zone
possibly.
At some point.
Yeah.
But he was great. He had just like that typical 40s and 50s swagger with the way he talked. He was like a New Yorker guy. Like I said, his facial expressions were really funny, and once you start to learn about the circumstances of his character, his acting just becomes a little bit more comedic because he's in such like a dead-end horrible situation that is kind of comical in a way.
Yeah.
And he just did a really good job of making that character likable and fun.
For sure. Yeah, no, and that was the thing too. Like, you definitely, at first, you really don't know how you feel about him, but you definitely are rooting for the character to hopefully do something good.
Yeah.
And
this is essentially like a noir film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a suspense, like mystery type thing.
Yeah.
And like an on-the-run road trip kind of movie. Not road trip, but traveling across the world. Traveling across the U.S. of A.
Yeah.
And what time is it right now?
12:45.
Okay, it's pretty late. I'm a little worn out.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
And I'm going to look up the woman's name.
Okay.
Because there's a female character that he kind of has to butt heads with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Savage plays Vera. She was also just like a really powerful force in this movie. Like, he was able to hold his own as a character and with his performance, but she was like the perfect contrast to him. She had a lot of raw, blunt energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she definitely held her own. The dynamic, like, they both kind of had something on each other, let's just say. Mm-hmm. And the way they balanced that, I thought it was good. Like, their dialogue and their chemistry was perfect. You knew there was tension, but there was also some, like, intrigue. We really didn't know how exactly they felt about each other. I mean, you kind of did, but you were kind of wondering, are they going to switch in any way? Like, what's their next move?
Yeah, they were unpredictable in that sense. Like, sometimes you think they're getting along, but are they getting along? And we won't go into the circumstances as to why these two characters are put together.
They really did a good job. I mean, even though the movie isn't that long, they did a good job of keeping your intrigue throughout the whole runtime. Yeah. Because I never felt comfortable, kind of like the main character, the main dude. Like, you kind of feel like you're in his shoes because you don't really know what's going to happen next. Yeah. And they did a good job at that.
And even by the end of the movie, we didn't really realize it was going to end. I mean, we knew the movie was short, so we figured it would be ending soon.
Yeah,
but we didn't know how it was going to end. And when that did happen, we were like, oh, that's...
Yeah, I could have went another half hour with this movie, honestly. If it was written well enough, I would have been fine watching another half hour. I mean, it was enjoyable.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I liked the presentation a lot too, and I liked a lot of the transitions and editing they did for it. I thought it was pretty impressive. They just did it once, but it was this weird transition, and it almost like focused in on the rear view mirror on the car. It was almost like a boxed cut, and it like zoomed into it or something. Do you remember that?
Yep. Yeah, and there was another part too where the camera was kind of like going around the room, and it would focus in on it, and then it would blur, and then it would focus in on something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was interesting too.
That one stuck out too. Yeah, there were a lot of nice, fun camera techniques in that. Yeah, I mean, the Blu-ray restoration by Criterion was really great. It sounded good. Most of the voices were pretty audible for the most part, so there weren't really any issues with that. They do have there's a lot of driving in the movie, so they have the very, kind of shoddy looking green screen or whatever they used back in the day, where it doesn't look great. But that's just part of the charm of a movie this old.
Yep.
1945, right at the end of the war. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I honestly, I would have thought it was 50s. I didn't really know the year it came out. And I actually don't own this movie on Blu-ray or on Criterion. And that was another reason why I asked Luke, can we watch this one? Because I wanted to watch something I don't own. And at some point, I definitely will be picking this up. It's worth the price tag.
Yeah, I don't regret having it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, overall, intriguing story, good characters, fun performances, good cinematography and editing, and just a solid 40s noir film.
I'm thinking like a 4 on this one.
Yeah.
That's just me. Again, I'm probably giving it another week before I determine, but right now I'm sitting at a solid 4.
I'd recommend it. If you think it sounds interesting, do not hesitate, because it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for you today. I hope that you all enjoyed watching that. I know I wish we could have done 3 movies, but it would be 4 a.m. and we'd be filming this if we did 3 movies, so that's just not going to happen. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And that's all we have for you, Tyler. Thanks for
it's great to be
being
here.
a part of the video. It was great having company for one of these. First guest of hopefully many more to come.